So remember that all of this gear that we're talking about, we bought with our own money.
Yeah.
So better quality items were definitely out there, but also we're not obliged to these companies to say only good things. You know, we're going to tell you the raw truth of everything that has happened to us with our gear.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Notier's Frontiers Diaries.
Hello.
In this episode, we are going to talk about our gear, our past gear, and all the things that have kind of not worked for us. It's important to know what does work, and we've been upgrading our gear for our newest trip to Alaska, and we'll talk about all of that in another episode. But this is about our past experiences with past gear and kind of the failures that we've had throughout the years of traveling on a motorcycle.
You know, I mean, Alaska has a certain, it's going to be cold ring to it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it rains a lot. So, and Marisa hates being cold and wet. So our primary objective is to keep Marisa as warm and dry as humanly possible.
That's
and
right.
Synthetically possible.
For the past 4 years, throughout our travels through the Americas and Africa, we had both cold and hot in mind. Pretty much every type of weather scenario, but we also had to really be concerned about being hot because, you know, going through Central America, going through Africa, there's a lot of heat involved. And really the only cold places were high up in the Andes Mountains or like Ushuaia, the southern tip of South America.
Yeah, and like a lot of my old gear, the Speedy H2 out, like I don't even think they make it anymore. You know?
Yeah, I don't think so.
And it was a good jacket though. It was really good.
I had mine for the whole 4 years.
Yeah, and same here, but mine kind of started to like dry rot almost, like just from being in the sun so much, like the cloth, you could actually like grab it, and if you pulled hard enough, it would tear, which is not very abrasion resistant at that point anymore.
Exactly. But at the same time, we beat it up. Like whatever gear we have, we test it to its limits 100% because we go through every single climate scenario. We are in it every single day. Yeah. We are hours and hours and hours in it at a time. And so, yeah.
And it was 4 years of constant abuse. Out of those 4 years, you know, 3 of them were of us actually being on the road, moving constantly, you know, so like 3 years in a jacket every day on the road is a lifespan of somebody who's more of a casual or, you know, takes month trips or whatever, you know, but like we combined, you know, the entire life of this jacket into 4 years, which was good. And we got it on sale because we were being cheap.
Yes.
You know, but
and it had like a waterproof liner and also a thermal liner, but we took those out because we realized that we wanted to have better layers.
They weren't Goretex, and so the rain layer, the liner was on the inside lining it, which I'm not the hugest fan of because then your jacket gets wet and then you still feel, you know, if it's raining and it's kind of cold, it's still like this air conditioned cold wind blowing on you.
And we know this from personal experience because we thought, right at the beginning of our trip, we thought, okay, we'll put our rain layer, which we got like regular, just Columbia rain gear. Yeah. We thought we'll put our raincoats underneath our motorcycle jacket so that that abrasion resistance will be on the outside. And the reason why we thought this is because we did our maiden voyage around the Rocky Mountains a few years prior to kind of test ourselves and test our gear. And all the gear we took on that trip
failed. That was like super, like, you know, starving artist budget stuff.
Super starving artist budget, because we bought our rain gear from like a truck stop on the way out there. And so it was super baggy. It was over all of our other gear. It was not high quality. It was not meant to be resistant to all the wind that it had to take. And so it just kind of flapped itself into shreds.
Yeah.
And it was pretty useless pretty quickly.
And, even if when we did get jackets that we wanted to layer up, like the main cost of the jacket, and I'm not talking climb and, Revit and rah-rah, and they all have their different tiers of quality, but like the jacket we had bought, the Speedy H2 out, like the rain liner, the cool thing about that rain liner is that you can wear it all by itself, and it wasn't like this inside out reflective thing that you can wear
right.
like if it rained and
Yeah.
So you didn't have to have a separate one. But like the thermal layer was not all, like each one of the components, the subcomponents that were the extras, were not all that awesome at what they did. And so what we wanted to do was to buy the actual down jacket that was rated at whatever rating they're at, the 680 micro fluff or whatever.
And the other thing is, when you put those liners into the jacket, it's really hard. You have to like clip things and snap things. And when you're on the side of the road and all of a sudden it starts to rain, you're like, oh, this came out of nowhere and I was pushing it to the last second, but now I really need my rain gear on.
Yeah.
You can't be sitting around messing with like, okay, the right sleeve goes to the right clip. So we took those liners out and we bought our Columbia rain jackets.
And we got like a Mountain Hardware down jacket that have been warm and awesome.
And that was very good.
It was. I got fatter throughout the years, which sucked. So I had to make some modifications. But still worked really nice.
Now, the rain gear, though, did not last as long as we had wanted. It wasn't motorcycle rain gear. These are just rain jackets for people, hiking through the forest. It wasn't as waterproof, or it didn't stay as waterproof for as long as I'd wanted. When we were in Colombia, we had just gotten off of the sailboat from Panama to Colombia.
Yeah.
And that crossed the Darien Gap. And the first night in Colombia, in Cartagena, we rented a room in a hostel that had this air conditioning. It was really, really hot. And we turned the air conditioning on really high because it was so hot out. But I think because of that air conditioning, I got really sick. I don't know if that ever happens to anyone out there, but you go from real heat and then you go into a very, very cold climate and you get kind of sick. Well, I got sick. We were making our way along the northern coast of Colombia over to Tayrona National Park. And we went through this town called Barranquilla. Apparently that's where Shakira's from. But anyway,
Shakira.
It is very rainy there. You can tell that they're used to a lot of rain because the gutters are like 4.5 feet deep along the sides of the road. And it's still flooded.
Yeah.
It flooded so bad. We were stuck in like 2.5 hours worth of rain.
Yeah, with like full tree branches and floating by.
There was like furniture floating by.
We were like, yeah, I'm not going through this, and would just stop.
And like the little motorcycles were stuck.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was awesome though.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very cool experience, except I was already sick, and then the rain gear stopped being as waterproof.
Yeah.
It could have just been the total deluge of the storm as well, but that rain gear didn't keep me dry, and I was soaked to the bone for hours.
Yeah.
It wasn't cold out, but I got cold, I got chilled, and that was when that sickness turned into pneumonia.
Pneumonia. As I like to say.
Pneumonia. As we made our way over to Tirona, which is a beautiful park with mountains and coastline and beaches, I was getting these frequent fevers. We had to stay a couple days in a hotel where we didn't move anywhere because I was so sick. And by
they
the
had
time,
a pool.
Yeah, you enjoyed yourself.
I catered to you. It was nice.
Yeah, you did. Thank goodness, because I was completely out of it. And by the time we got to this beautiful campsite on the beach in Tirona, I was just like coughing out all this stuff. It was bad. And there wasn't a doctor around. Luckily, once we were able to get internet and I looked up pneumonia, I was pretty sure that's what I had. It turned out that we already had some of the medicine that could treat it if it was a bacterial version, and thankfully it was.
Yeah.
So I took the medicine and I was much better. But after that, I decided I'm going to throw out my rain gear and get new rain gear. And so in Colombia, we went to we found a bicycle shop for cyclists, and they had some rain gear that was just like thick plastic, and I bought that. It worked really, really great. It was a bit like wearing a garbage bag, so definitely wasn't something to keep on long term.
And if we were in the States or in Europe, I think we would have invested in going somewhere even more high quality than a little bike shop. But we had to deal with what we had to deal with.
Exactly.
But yeah, so staying warm and dry, and I mean, Marisa and I are a pair, and so that was awesome, and I was able to get her places, and B, take care of her and such. But like, if you're out there on your own and you fall ill, it's just a nightmare scenario.
Exactly. This is also when we started putting the rain gear over our outer jacket, our outer motorcycle jacket that cuts the wind. As long as it's really good quality rain gear and it's not going to like fray in the wind, we found that to be a lot better of a situation. And also because the cyclist gear that I bought was so big, it wouldn't have gone under my jacket anyway. I really liked putting it over the jacket a lot more.
And the same kind of theory we left originally on, and I was very insistent on, was our boots. That when I was at Bill Dragoo's Dart off-road riding course, I had messed up my ankle pretty bad, and I was wearing some pretty lame boots, and it was like, that never needs to happen to me on the road again, and so I'm going to invest in quality boots. And I was very persistent that Marisa do the same, even though, she was like, I feel like a duck and it feels weird walking, and I'm like, safety, protect what you want to keep is what I always, like to say. Right.
Unfortunately, though, for women with really small feet like me, the boot selection is a bit narrower than for men.
Yeah.
So what I was able to get, and looking back, I realized it wasn't the best ankle support in the world.
No, but it was 100 times better than what you had prior.
Yeah, exactly.
But the BMW...
It was the BMW all-around boots.
Yeah. They were waterproof. They had some protection. My ankles are much more at risk of being twisted and pulled. At least a higher percentage, and we all have known that Marisa's ankle's been twisted twice now.
So now, after realizing that I needed really, really good ankle support for all of the off-road and just motorcycle riding that we do, I think ankle support is really good all around.
Buying boots round 2. The other boots, not waterproof. These boots, comfortable, stylish, expensive as
Yes.
protective.
Yes, most important.
Yes. So.
And waterproof. I have purchased the CD Adventure boots, and they're super, super squeaky, but I love them, and they totally saved me on the Colorado
This is
BDR.
true.
Is that bad or worse?
No, it's worse, it's worse. Okay. Yeah, it was. I'm okay. Oof. Well, I think I got these awesome boots. Oh, wow. Ankle support.
Well,
is very important, and safety.
Yeah, I mean, the moral of this whole kind of episode is, safety, and then, if you're going to be living in this gear, like, we can do a whole nother episode on our tent gear and stuff, but I mean, we're living in it, and so, a $50, $70, $90 Walmart tent could work for like a weekend trip if you're going out and getting drunk and doing some fishing and coming back home, but if you're going to Alaska, or if you're going to the ends of the world,
sometimes it pays to invest.
Indeed, and not only the stupid saying of like a happy wife, a happy life, but like a happy self is a happy. I don't have anything to rhyme with it, but happy Tim is good for him.
Oh, there you go.
I like it. Keeping it. And if you fall and you injure yourself, it's just a spiral of it's not good. So stay nice and comfy as you sleep at night. Make sure you're nice and comfy and healthy in your riding apparel.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that we've learned to, gravitate towards full maximum priority. And I've spent $200, $300, $400 on gloves, and I've yet to find this magical Cinderella slipper that I'm like, this is everything I've ever wanted.
We'll talk more about gloves and all of our other gear in the next episode. So stay tuned for the next episode. And if you liked this one, please give us a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below.
Ding, ding.
And we're super excited to be seeing you next time.
Peace, everybody.
Bye.
Stay safe.